God will part the seas before you, and sometimes He'll ask you to step into a torrent, and then He'll part the waters. Sometimes you've got to get your feet wet. Sometimes He'll open a way for you. But either way, God will bring it to pass. You've got to be prepared to get your feet wet. You hearing me? It's important to be prepared for God to do it differently from anything you've experienced before. Now, when we are looking for God to do something, we need to move against the problem and let it touch us before it subsides. Are you hearing me? Jesus told us to move mountains, not tunnel. Speak grace to the mountain, He said. Watch it move. So many of us are tunneling through our problems. We're not called to tunnel through our problems, we're called to move mountains. We need to let the problem touch us often before it will disappear. God will ask you to do something, and you will step into it with no resources and no method of making it happen. But you are in faith for that thing. You are convinced it's the Word of God that you step into that torrent, and He will make it happen for you. But please don't be stupid and superstitious about these things. Know it is the Lord. It's very important to do that. In the same way that I just don't rush up to blind people and say, "Can I pray for you?" I don't do that. I really need to know God is calling me to do that. Because I can't believe, but He can. Alright, in Joshua 3:17, the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant stopped in the middle of the Jordan and stood on dry ground. Now, this is incredible, isn't it? We're just going to stand there until everyone's collapsed. And sometimes God will ask you to stand in the middle of a problem for your people and just be there. How many of you have seen the movie The Lord of the Rings? Remember the first movie? When Gandalf the Grey stands on the bridge and a big monster's coming and he says, "You shall not pass." As leaders, we have to take that stand sometimes for our people. You shall not pass. And we stand in the gap for a congregation, or for a family, or for someone else. Yeah? Now, do you remember when God gave Balaam the revelation of what was happening when his donkey was talking to him, and his donkey was saying, "What's your problem? Why are you beating me? I'm a good donkey." Remember that conversation? All the time? And Balaam, by the way, Balaam wasn't a believer. And even after this event, he was still not a believer. Read your Bible carefully. He was a good-fashioned pagan. And he was paid to curse Israel. But God in His mercy showed him a revelation of an angel, a cherub, standing with drawn sword, and it was saying, "You shall not pass." Now sometimes we have to take that stand for our people. Never be afraid, as a leader, to stand in the gap for those who are hurting. Jesus says when one sheep is missing, He will leave the 99 who are safe and go find that one. That's good shepherding. We need to be able to do that. Okay, we're getting ready for some coffee in a few moments. No slippery riverbed here. It's dry ground. Good foothold. God will never lead you to a place where you're slipping and sliding. That's why the Bible says, "And when your shoes are shod with the gospel of peace, stand,
friend.
You shall not pass." And let's take some authority for those that we shepherd. Let's deal with the invader. 1 Samuel 17, we read this about David. Okay? It says when he's talking to King Saul, Saul put the armour on David. Do you remember? Plank, it's all too heavy. He's a boy, he can't walk in it. He says, "Take this off, this is ridiculous. You can't wear another man's armour. You really can't do that. You can't have another man's ministry." You can't have another pastor situation. You're called to be who God has called you to be, and the accolade you need is well done, good and faithful servant, as you enter heaven. That's what we're looking for. Now, David says to the king of Israel, who's shaken in his tent and should have been out facing a giant, by the way. He was surrounded by the sound of 1,000 warriors shaking in their armour. And he stands before the king and he says, listen, he said, when I was looking after my father's flocks, and a lion or a bear came and took the lamb, he says, and I'm going to paraphrase the Bible for you now, he says, I'm not having this. And he went after it, he says, and I seized it by the beard and I hit it with my club and rescued the lamb. Now let me tell you something about hitting it with your club. If you grab a lion or a bear by the beard and hit it over the head, what you've got is a very angry lion or bear at the end of your hand, which is no longer interested in the lamb. So you give it a good whacking, okay? When David says, and I struck it with my club, he means he killed it. That thing was never going to take any more lambs. And so it is with those things who come against us. We're not seeking to rebuff them, we're seeking to destroy them in Jesus' name. We will have no more of this in our church. No more of it. We have the demonic running havoc in the church of God today. And it's time we confronted these invaders. When Jesus talks in Revelation, and he's talking about the church at Philadelphia, he says, have you noticed my servant Antipas? Nobody's ever noticed him because he's not mentioned anywhere else in the Bible, this man. Try doing a study. The trail goes immediately cold. We don't know who he was, but he did something significant for Jesus to say, world, you need to know this man's name. Well done, good and faithful servant. We don't know what Antipas did. He was a martyr. We don't know what his ministry was. We don't know if he had a ministry. We don't know how he died. We don't know how he lived. But Jesus did. And Jesus says, my man Antipas was in that city. That's what we are striving for. And each of us who are leaders and pastors will receive from the Lord a Stephanos crown. Not that we can show our crowns off. I fully intend to take mine off and lay it at the feet of Jesus. Isn't that wonderful? It's as if it's the last thing I have to give him. Wonderful. That's what we're striving for. The Israelites passed the test of faith. The king of Israel did not. He failed. He wanted Elisha's mantle. Joshua didn't know how to be a Moses, but he never asked to be Moses. He just asked to be the servant of the Lord. And we see a wonderful lesson from Joshua when he's standing before Jericho and he's surveying the city. And there are three options open to him in that day. He can starve them out. Well, who wants to do that? It'll take a long time. He can build a rampart. He'll lose many, many men doing that. Or he can batter down the door. He'll lose many men doing that. That's his options. And he's standing on the hill overlooking the city. He's like this, and he's thinking about this. And he's saying, Lord, what am I going to do? And the angel of the Lord, which is an Old Testament word for Jesus, his pre-incarnated Father, stands before him. And Joshua says, who are you? And he says, I am the commander of the armies of Israel. That's interesting. That's who Joshua thought he was. When the penny drops, Joshua bows down and he says, that's right, you are the commander of the armies of the Lord. That's good, Pastor. That's good leadership. Recognizing that you are not always the top of the tree. Recognizing that God brings into your life others in positions of authority. That's so important, that we learn to work under people, not always over people. All right. So they passed the test. The incredible thing is they crossed the Jordan and the fields are ripe for harvest because no one has ever crossed the Jordan on foot. There's no need to defend it. So now all of a sudden they possess the land and they have their first harvest with the seeds to replant the following year. How good is our God? And then Joshua does something which is just crazy. Or is it?